Welcome to this first introduction to Stella. To get to the window you see here, you have to start up Stella Architect, and then under the File menu you ask for a new project. And then you get this model window. What I like very much about Stella is the very clean interface. It's not crowded. And I'll go through some of the features, the buttons that you will need to begin with, and then we'll come back to what you need later. So over here on the left hand side are 4 symbols, and that's the only 4 symbols that you need to build models. And over here you have some other possibilities. You can add text in the diagram, you can add pictures. This will give you a graph, this will give you a table. Over here is a choice where you can choose to be in the model view or in the map view. The map view, really, I only use that to take copies of the diagram to use in publications. Otherwise, I'm always in model view. Then here is a very important one, that is the edit mode. That's where you build a model, that's where you make additions to the model. And then over here is the explore mode, or I prefer to call it the simulation mode, where you do the simulations. Over here there are a couple of options for doing analysis. We won't talk much about that. And then over here is a way to get to the interface window to create learning environments. And that's something you will learn about in another course. Down at the left here is a triangle which you click to run the model. The square stops the model run, and here is an option to restore all the devices. So that can be nice from time to time. So let's start building a model, or actually it's not a model, but I'll just show how you can enter data into a model, historical observations. So we go here and click on the converter symbol or the circle, and then we can give it a name, and let's call this historical observation. And then we click on that, and when we click here, then we have to go down here, and you see here a symbol x square. That means we have the possibility to write an equation or the causes of this variable, and in this case it's the historical observation, so it's just a function of time. And you see here time is an internal variable in Stella. It's not something we model, but it's just there. And then I want to introduce a time series data, and then we click on graphical function. And you need to click also here to get a graphical function. And now I have a data set of 5 data. So if I scroll down here, I have to give the number for the data points. That's very important. And then I have to go back to graph here to set the timing, and it should go from 0 to 4. So 5 data points starting with 0. So there we have that, and I can also change the scale for the y-axis here, just so it's more appropriate for the numbers I have. And then I have copied now data from Excel, and then I go in under points, double click on historical observation, and then I just do a paste. Like that. There we have the data. We can observe or view the data here in the mode called the graph mode. But this data is exactly the data I want to show when I simulate. So I click here to get rid of that page, and then inside here we now have these data, and I want to simulate that over time. So I go up here and choose a graph like that. I can move it around, and then to get the data inside of the graph there are 2 options. The simple one is to just click on command, hold that down, and then drag it in. And then you see we get the historical observation inside here. Now, before we simulate, there is one important thing we have to do, and that is to set the time horizon for the model. You see from the graph here that now it runs from 0 to 20 years, but we have data only for 5 years, from 0 to 4. So I double click in this area here, in the white area, and then I get an option here to set the start time, which I want to be 0, and the stop time, which I want to be 4 years. I can set here how often the data are calculated during the simulation, and in this case I'll just choose to set 1. So the time step now will be 1 year, so we will calculate and show data from year to year like that. There's also an option here called simulation duration, and that only says how long the simulation should take. It really simulates extremely fast, so if you put that to 0, then it will be so fast that you don't see it. But by choosing a couple of seconds, you get the feeling for this simulation. So then I can click either here or in this white area to get rid of this. And now we are ready to simulate. So I click here in the lower left corner, and there you see, you get the historical observation in the graph over time. We could also show the data as a table. So it's just as simple. You just get the table symbol here, click on it, and then place it here. And then we drag. Now I could drag it in, click Command and drag it in, but I can also go in here and click on plus here, and then I select a variable, and the only one I have is historical observation, so I choose that. So there you have it, and the data are already there because I've simulated once. Then I can get rid of all the outputs like that, and I can simulate again. Okay, so that's a first introduction to Stella and what you need to be able to carry out what is needed in the first chapters of the course. Good luck!